Welcome to 805 Sports Talk, and it's late January, and we're still talking about high school football. The big news over the weekend was Toa Taua committing to Nevada. He was over in Hawaii at the Polynesian Bowl at Aloha Stadium, and he made the announcement late in the third quarter there, and went with Nevada. You know, none of us really had an inkling where he was going. I thought maybe to the Big 12 and Iowa State, maybe one of the Mountain West schools who were in the mix, but he goes to Nevada. Let's all start with you. Were you surprised with that pick? I mean, after, looking back on it, knowing his brother went there, knowing Vi went there, starred there, it's not that big of a surprise. It was one of his final three. What was your kind of immediate reaction when you saw he had that Nevada hat?
I'm with you. I was leaning towards Iowa State. I was under the assumption that because of the fact that Anu kind of went to UCLA and wanted to build his own legacy, maybe Toa was also under that umbrella of wanting to create his own empire. But, credit to Nevada. I mean, this is definitely a big recruiting group for the Wolfpack, and I started thinking about this a lot more. Toa has the comfort of knowing that if there's any problems, he has a family member to turn to on that coaching staff. And, looking at Nevada's backfield, it's looking scary fierce because you got a power runner in Toa coming in, but you also got Devontae Lee, who is a viral sensation on YouTube, has a similar running style to Toa. So, I was thinking that it was going to be a Power 5 school, and then it got to the point where Iowa State was that lone Power 5 school that was left. And so Nevada was, I would definitely say it was a 50% surprise on my end.
All right, Kenny, we were all kind of following that Saturday night, and you picked Nevada. What was your kind of initial reaction when you found out that Toa was going to Nevada?
I expected a little bit that he would, I'm pretty much with Lorenzo, I expected a little bit that he would go to Iowa State, but I'm not that surprised he went to Nevada. He's got the comfort factor with Vitala being on the coaching staff there, and Nevada is a respected football program. So really, I'm not that surprised. Also, his family won't be too far away. They'll be just one state away, as in where if he was in the Midwest, be in another part of the country. So I'm not all that surprised that he went with Nevada.
And to clarify, moving forward, especially for people who cover Nevada football, it's Toa Taua, not Toa Taua. How to get that out there.
It is Lompoc, not another pronunciation of his hometown. And, my thoughts on that, I was thinking Iowa State. I thought he would go Power 5. But, of course, talking about that comfort factor, and he mentioned it a couple times during the broadcast, which was on the ESPN3 webcast live. He mentioned the home factor, wanting it to feel like home. Of course, Vitala, his older brother, is on the coaching staff. He starred there. Toa spent some time there during his younger days. Elijah Cook's a Tascadero guy who grew up in the Santa Maria Valley. They're pretty close to each other. He was over there at Nevada as well. So definitely, it's not just, words that he's saying. There's definitely, has that home feel to it with him.
I think that's another factor, too, that you touched base on. That you mentioned Elijah Cooks being there. Nevada in the past has always been very big on getting California kids, not just kids from L.A., but kids from the Central Valley and kids from this region as well. So I wouldn't doubt that was also a big deciding factor on his decision to go to the Wolfpack now. Granted, Iowa State has done well with past California guys. There's a former Arroyo Grande standout on that roster right now, but Nevada has thrived on predominantly a lot of California kids. Vital was one, Colin Kaepernick was a California guy, and we could go on and on.
Yeah, I think Luke Lippincott was from the Salinas Valley, Salinas County, somewhere out there. Tulare, or they've recruited that area pretty hard. So they definitely, did well with the Central California, Northern California area, and hopefully, Toa Taua will be the next one. And now that we know where he is going, how quickly do you think it'll be that he'll be making an impact there in Nevada?
I give him 2 years. I don't know what the experience level looks like next year for Nevada. And another thing, too, is that Jay Norville is still in a position where he's trying to figure out his team, figure out what's working and what isn't. But with the backfield that he has, Jay Norville usually has an area of expertise in the passing game as a longtime receivers coach. But with 3 running backs, especially of Toa Taua's caliber, it's going to be hard to to ignore running the football. So I would imagine that maybe like for the first year, Toa will kind of watch and learn, kind of get used to the kinks of the Nevada offense, and then maybe by year 2 at the latest, that's when you'll start seeing Toa on the field.
Yeah, and though Toa is going to the same school as his older brother, I think it's a different situation. I mean, when Vital went there, he wasn't a heralded recruit. There wasn't huge expectations. You know, Toa's kind of a 3-star, 4-star guy. I think it's a big deal that he is going to Nevada. So I think it's a little different with the expectations. People are expecting a lot out of him. And looking at you, Kenny, you were here when Vital played his high school football at Cabrillo. And he started at Nevada from 2007 to about 2010. Were you surprised that he turned into the type of player he was at Nevada? Looking at Vital with his 4,500 rushing yards over there, 45 touchdowns at Nevada. Did it kind of surprise you how productive he was at Nevada, or did you kind of see that in him?
Actually, it did surprise me a little. With what he did at Cabrillo, I think it figured that he would have a chance to do well at that level. I didn't think he'd do that well. He really blossomed over there.
What are your expectations for Toa when he gets over there?
I think he'll be fine. I think it will probably take him a while to adjust to the college level. He does have some size, he has some power, he has some speed. He's not your eye-catching 5-star recruit, but he's, as you said, a solid 3 or 4-star guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he redshirts his freshman year, but I think by his sophomore, junior year, he will have a chance to make an impact.
I think his development will be a lot quicker, which is why I think it's going to be a 2-year window, because when you really think about it, the Taua family is a college football family. I mean, the father did play briefly at, I believe, Hancock, and then obviously you saw Vi and Anu move on to the college level. So Toa's been around the game of football for a while, especially at the college level, hence why that when he goes there, he's probably going to be a lot more well-versed compared to maybe some of those other recruits.
That's true.
Yeah, and Toa's been, doing this his whole life. I remember before, he even touched foot on a varsity football field at Lompoc. We were kind of, tracking down his YouTube videos. He had a lot of hits, known as Touchdown Toa when he was kind of younger. So he was hyped up back then, and he definitely more than lived up to the hype at Lompoc High. So it was he was getting emotional Saturday night when he was making his announcement, and I can kind of understand that. He had a great high school career, and he's put pretty much his whole life into this moment, and so that was really cool to see. He thanked a lot of people back home. Having some family members there was great, and even some Lompoc High, people were there to kind of support him over there at Aloha Stadium. So it was a cool moment, and we're excited to see how he does, over there in Reno and kind of following in Vital's footsteps. Just a cool story overall. And I think it's cool that he didn't try to go for the big star program. He went for which he thought was best for himself, and he even talked about the academic side of things. So I think it was a cool, wise decision, and hopefully it does pan out for him.
Sounds like he put a lot of thought into it. I think he made a solid choice for himself. Yeah.
All right.
It was a mature decision.
Yeah.
I'll definitely say that.
Definitely. Moving on to the basketball season, Kenny, you saw the Righetti girls. 22-5 after the first quarter against Arroyo Grande Tuesday night. Then things closed up at halftime. Warriors were able to pull away there. A little inconsistent performance defensively maybe from the Warriors Tuesday night. What did you take away from what you saw in Righetti, pulling away there at the end against Arroyo Grande?
Actually, as far as the playoffs go, I don't think what they need is more defense. I think what they need is more consistency. It's one thing when a team cuts an 8 to 10 point deficit to 2 in, say, 2 or 3 minutes. But Righetti would score 8 to 10 points in about a minute or two and give up about 8 points in about a minute or two. I think I think if they played very smart defense the last few minutes. They were in a zone. They didn't overplay passes, try to needlessly go for steals and open themselves up to either giving up an easy basket or fouling. But they needed to be more wise, I think, as far as using more clock. That's what Desiree Hitch tried to tell them, and Mercedes Arredondo got the message during the last 2 minutes. That this they've been a very streaky team, really, at least a lot of games. I don't think that will catch up with them in league play, but in playoffs, there's I think there's a chance that will if the streakiness continues. Say in the semifinals, if they go about 6 minutes in a quarter without scoring, I think that would catch up to them.
Yeah, definitely some streaks over there at Righetti. 17 straight wins this season and 23 straight league wins over the last couple of seasons for Desiree Hitch over there. Moving on to the soccer pitch, Lorenzo, Lompoc's boys go 7-0 in the first half of LPL play. They beat Orchid Academy Monday. You surprised at all that they're doing all this without Julian Araujo, who's playing at the Barcelona Academy? You know, maybe we thought the Braves would take a step back. You know, they're not really known as a soccer power here, but here they are again, 7-0 in LPL play through the first half of the season. Are you surprised at all?
I'm surprised by how well they've done. I mean, I probably shouldn't be too surprised about the competitive level because Marco Vargas does produce some playoff caliber teams at Lompoc High, but I mean, my initial thinking was Julian Araujo gone, you lose your most well-rounded player, you're going to struggle on the offensive end. I feel like they've gotten better on the offensive end because they're spreading it around. And not only that, from what I've noticed in the games that I've covered Lompoc, they're very fundamentally sound on defense, and they're very well coached. They respond to everything that Marco barks at them. So, you know, they can definitely go very, very far. And I know we don't usually do Coach of the Year awards for soccer, but I would imagine Marco Vargas will get a lot of recognition with the job he's done.
All right, and over on the girls' side in the LPL, a week ago you saw Santa Ynez take care of business against Lompoc. They go 7-0 in the LPL play in the first half. Rob Cantrell's kind of built them into the dynasty over here on the Central Coast, you know, during the regular season with a bunch of LPL titles. Do you think they're going to cruise to another LPL title this year? Do you think there's any other contenders there that can kind of knock them down? We saw Lompoc, you know, fall to them last week. Then Lompoc loses to Orchid Academy on Monday. Do you think it's pretty much a sure thing for the Santa Ynez girls to kind of wrap this thing up with a perfect league record?
Well, if you don't give up any goals, you can't get beat. And Santa Ynez has not given up any goals in most Potters League play. So I think they do have a good chance. I wouldn't say it's close to a sure thing, but I do think they have a good chance to run the table. Not only do they have fine defense, Julia Pritchard was the league assists leader going into their game against Lompoc, and then she scored the only goal, and she got a good pass from Sarah Johnston to get it. They have a solid goalkeeper, Brianna Rodriguez. So yes, I would say Santa Ynez does have a decent chance to run the table for the rest of the LPL campaign.
Yeah, and sticking in soccer, I think we'd be remiss if we don't mention the way Righetti's boys have played over there in the Pac 8. Brian Rivera was the athlete of the week. They had a big win over PV last Friday. Are you surprised at all at the way Righetti's played on the boys soccer side of things? Actually,
they have done a good job. I can't say it's a big surprise. I think Rob Golden has done a good job over there of bringing those guys up, and those guys have done a good job of bonding together and bonding into things. So I think I'm not all that surprised when you look at everything that they're seeing the fruits of their labor pay off. They've done a nice job over there to get themselves into playoff contention.
I want to mention one name going back to girls soccer, Al Garcia, and the job he's done with St. Joseph. I mean, I know he was on the St. Joseph campus already, but crossing over to the girls, not being too familiar with them, and pulling the upset yesterday against a very good Paso Robles team. And I mean, just talking to Al Garcia, he seems like that he's really energized. He's really having a grand old time coaching the girls.
They put themselves in the thick of the playoff race, especially with that big win against Paso Robles. I think they've won their last two straight. So they've gone pretty quickly from near the bottom of the league to in the thick of the playoff race.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of good playoff chases and title chases during the last half of the season in Pac 8 across multiple sports. Boys basketball is wide open. I think girls basketball is pretty
Pioneer Valley's boys have played themselves from close to the bottom of the league to in the thick of the playoff race the last two games themselves. So.
And Greg Linfier should be happy.
Yes, Greg should be happy.
All right, so that's our local sports section right now. We're going to move on to the national stage and, of course, talk about the NFL playoffs. There's one real NFL game left in the Super Bowl. I know we got the Pro Bowl coming up as well. But, of course, the Patriots are there once again. You know, probably one person here is happy about that, and Elliott Stern.
And he's not here.
He's not here.
And he's not here right now. But, Lorenzo, what did you take away from the championship game weekend and seeing an Eagles-Patriots matchup in the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm going to start with this. I got a brilliant strategy that the Eagles should consider for the Super Bowl. Don't get up 28-3. I mean, let's start there. But the more I think about it, I actually think that this game will be a lot closer than what people make it out to be, because on the Eagles side, you got LeGarrette Blount and Chris Long, who were former Patriots not that long ago. They're going to know, like, more or less what the strengths and weaknesses are for the Patriots. The fact that the Eagles dropped 38 points on the Vikings, the league's best defense, also says a lot about the structure of that offense. And here's another odd stat that I found out this morning that you guys might get a kick out of. In the years Nick Saban has won a national title, Bill Belichick didn't win a Super Bowl. So, curse of Nick Saban.
That is interesting, and they're good friends too.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Kenny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think it should be a good one, but I would say the Eagles need to be up by more than one score with about 2 to 3 minutes left. As I used to think there was there could be a debate, I think, before maybe about who's the best quarterback ever, but now I think you have to say Brady. I've never seen a quarterback throw. Joe Montana was great, but I've never seen a quarterback throw balls so consistently for completions in tight windows of coverage during the last 2 minutes as Brady has been able to. Nick Foles has been so undersold as far, and all he did was play masterfully in the NFC Championship game. So I think he'll acquit themselves well. I think it should be a good one. But as I said, if the Eagles are to have a chance, I think they'd better be up by more than one score with about 2 or 3 minutes left.
One of the biggest things that I could take away from the NFC Championship game, the way the Eagles pass rush came alive against Minnesota. They really rattled Case Keenum, who was coming in red hot in that game. Unfortunately, though, New England has one of the better offensive line units across the NFL and for many years. So, I mean, I'm going to be glued to see, like, how often can they knock down Brady? How many touches can they get to Brady? Because I think in the end, when I look back at last year's Super Bowl, that element went away for the Falcons, and that's how Tom Brady was able to pick them apart.
I think pass protection on both sides will be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, factor in this one, actually.
All right, that's all we got for this week. We'll see you guys next week on 805 Sports Talk.